Hey everybody, it's Wednesdays in Bed with Keith. Thank you for being here with me again. It's a gorgeous day out there. So I was thinking about my career and what with all this, right now in Connecticut, should we open, should we not reopen, the restrictions, the rules, the regulations. And sometimes a lot of people come to me and they have some amount of respect for me because I'm like the old guy in the business. And I kind of love that. I do, years under the belt and so on and so forth. I'm sort of like Belle Watling, like the prostitute who's been around forever and she just knows all the tricks. So anyway, I was thinking about like the early years and people always say to me, how did you come to be a hairdresser? Like, was that something you always wanted to do? Did you have a passion for it? And the answer to that is no, absolutely not. Like, I never imagined myself being a hairdresser. That was just not on the ticket. As a matter of fact, you're going to become privy to the bumpy little road, or, it wasn't that bumpy, but it was a little bumpy. So I hated the dentist. I absolutely hated the dentist when I was little and did not want to go. And my mother took me once to this man on Whitney Avenue in Hamden, and it was on the second story, and I was just little. I was probably 5 years old, and the guy puts me in the chair and he starts coming at me with drills and things or whatever the heck he was coming at me, and I was fidgeting and I didn't want to sit still, and he was very, very mean, and he was like super intense, and he was like, "Listen, little guy, you have to sit there and you have to sit still." And I got so scared that I climbed out of the chair. I went running out of his office. I went running past my mother, down the stairs and out onto the sidewalk. And she was terrified that I was going to run out into the street, and she came running after me like, "What?" She's like, "What's the matter with you? What's the matter?" And I was like, "He's so mean. He's so mean." And I was crying and the tears were coming down my face, and "I'm not going back there." And she was like, "Okay, whatever." So she did her, research, and she found this guy right in our hometown, actually one block up from where we live, and he was great, Dr. Intricaso. I loved Dr. Intricaso. And he sort of put me in the chair, and he would call me Charlie Brown, and he was very affectionate, and he was just the bomb. And I loved getting my teeth done after that. I actually looked forward to going to see him. So over the course of my lifetime with Dr. Intricaso, my young life, I decided that, I think I might want to be a dentist. So I would talk to him all the time, and he would be like, "Well, you have to take a lot of sciences and the mathematics courses." And I sort of I sort of got on to doing biology and chemistry and physics and calculus. And I was taking all these classes that really were above my academic skill. So it sort of harmed me a little bit because it sort of pushed my class rank down, my grades down a little bit, because I would struggle. I would get through it, but I would struggle. It wasn't like a natural thing. I was much more like arts and English I loved because I could write and be creative. I love psychology, dealing with the brain, and Lord knows I have a lot of, brain shit to deal with. So anyway, school went on, and it was time to graduate, and I just sort of had a problem. And the problem was that when I was in high school, there was this guy, and he was an Adonis. And I'm not going to mention any names because that doesn't do any good. But he developed way before almost everybody else. He had this beautiful black hair, and he sort of had the mustache and the beard and sort of like the biker mustache, and he had this beautiful hairy chest that was perfect and a little happy trail that ran down. And I would be in the shower, and I would sort of catch a side glance, and I started sweating, and I knew that I was gay, and I was attracted to this, and I would stand there and hope that nothing down, waist down was doing anything, and I didn't know how I was going to handle that at school, at college, because we were going to be in dormitories, and there were men's dorms and women's dorms, and that's just how it was going to shake out. And I really started getting scared. And I thought to myself, I can't go to college. And it's kind of sad that that was the reason that I actually didn't go to college. It wasn't academics. It wasn't anything like that, because, I didn't have to go to the dental program. I just could have gone to college as liberal arts. So I didn't go. So now, that summer that I was supposed to go off, I knew I had to tell my parents. So we're sitting around one night, and it's beautiful summer day at night, and my mom's drinking tea, and my dad is drinking his coffee and having his cake. And all of a sudden I decide, well, no time like the present. So I'm just like, I'm not going to college. And my father looks at me, and my mother looks at my father, and she's the mouthpiece, as we know. And she was like, what do you mean you're not going to college? And I said, yeah, I don't think it's my thing. Like, I thought about it, and I don't think it's my thing. I kind of saw some people who had, they need a lot of work in their mouth, on their teeth, and I don't know if I could do that. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know if you could do it? This is all you've wanted to do since you were like 5 years old. That's all we heard about. Dentist, dentist, dentist. She said, everything was around dentist. She's like, now all of a sudden you don't want, what happened? She said, what happened and why are you not going? So I was like, yeah, nothing really happened. I said, I just decided that, I think I'd like to try something else for the year. So she was like, well, we're not going to just, support you while you go off and do whatever you want to do. That's just not going to happen. Right, Henry? That's not going to happen. And in truth, I think my father just wanted to eat his cake and drink his coffee because my dad, he was like, So she looks at me and she goes, and what exactly do you want to do? So I said, I want to go into hairdressing. I think I want to become a hairdresser. Now, one of two things happened. She either suffered a stroke because she was silent, and we know she was never silent, or she was sleeping. Those were the only two things, because she was never silent. So she looks at me, and over her teacup, she goes, dim bulbs go to hairdressing school. Are you a dim bulb? Now, I was kind of taken aback because my mother was calling me a dim bulb. And I was like, Mom, that's not right. I said, anyone can go to do anything they want to do. I said, and this is what I want to do. And she was like, I don't know. And so I was thinking, you have a lot of nerve, lady. I mean, like, you graduated high school, which is totally fine, but it's not like you went off and became a doctor or a lawyer or a secretary. I mean, you have a lot of nerve. That's what I was thinking to myself. So I said to her, well, I think I'm going to be really good at it. So we did our research and we come up with this hairdressing school, and I did my interview and I went there and, I wasn't good. I just wasn't good. Like, I was so nervous. Like, the first time I had to cut somebody, I was like shaking, and that somebody was my mom, and I was like shaking and I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't roll the papers and the rollers or the perm rods, and it was just like a tough nut. And it took me like 6 months before I sort of got my rhythm down on that. So anyway, I decide that I'm going to give my mother a perm and a color. So I give her the perm, and I don't know all the nuances of hair, and it just like it kinks up, like it's all fried and frizzy, and it was like sort of like oval, like it was like a Q-tip. Like, I made my mother into a Q-tip. But worse than that, I told her that it would be better if we colored it. So I color it, and she literally comes out cherry red. Like, she's like a cherry, a dark cherry, like an Amarena cherry. She's like this dark red fuzzball Q-tip, and that's my mother. And so she goes running off into the bathroom, and we can hear her, and she's like literally pounding on the sink. You could hear it, and she's going, no, because my mom was a little bit vain. And so I'm like, Mom, it's going to be okay. And my father's like, Edith, it's going to be okay. And she opens the door, and we see this Q-tip red thing come out. And I'm just like, my dad and I look at each other and start laughing. And she's like, I'm going to go get this taken care of. But I'm telling you right now, this is not your thing. You need to go to college. You need to do something else. You're never going to make a living with this. And that was that. And she did not have me touch her hair ever again until I opened my salon. So it came time for me to open my salon. And I was very young. I was only 21. And, it was just sort of this thing that I had in my mind. I had this passion to do this and this desire. And so at 22 years old, I opened a full-blown salon. And it was very successful. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because it was. And with that success came a little bit of notoriety, a little bit of, I'm going to say prestige. I don't know if that's the right word, but also respect. And I loved that. So anyway, I owned and operated the salon for a very long time. I think 16 years on my own. And my mom and dad couldn't have been more proud. I mean, like, she walked around like she was proud as a peacock, and she was like, oh, my son owns Progressions Hair Salon, and blah, blah, blah. And people would know that. And so I think that it was really funny in the end that I literally took my life and went off to the right. And I say I went off to the right because it was right for me. And I never imagined that I would end up in the career that I'm in and love it so much. And that's the absolute truth. I have a passion for the people. I have a passion for my career. I love it. I love helping people. I love talking to people. It's the right choice. And I just think that dentistry would not have put me there. So I just feel like even if you are getting like pressure and you're hearing like voices about like trying to squash you down, don't listen. Just go for the gold, go for the gusto. Because at the end of the day, I absolutely love what I do. And it's given me such pleasure, and it's given me such a wealth of knowledge. And it's given me wonderful friends. So what more could anybody ask in their life? And that is how I came to be.